Hey guys, tonight we are diving into a story that will gradually wrap around you like your favorite old sweater. Picture this. You're curled up under a blanket fort, a contented, sleepy dog nestled beside you, the faint glow of fairy lights casting shadows that dance lazily across the walls. We're heading way back in time, yet somehow we're finding parallels to our own nightly struggles and joys. You probably won't survive this without a few bemused chuckles. It's medieval times, as you've never seen them. Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background, and let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up in a small, wooden medieval cabin, where the morning chill seeps through the walls like an uninvited guest. There's a soft light filtering through the meager curtains that hang awkwardly in the window. Not exactly blackout blinds, but they do their best. The air carries the earthy scent of last night's fire, which somehow still clings to your woolen tunic. Laundry day lighting candles never manage to override that particular perfume. The floor is cool under your feet, a sharpened contrast to the fuzzy socks you usually cozy up with on a cold morning. Yet, the wooden boards creak familiarly, reminding you of the satisfying click of modern keyboards. You step outside, and the whole world is shrouded in a misty fog, the kind that medieval folks would wander through with as much wonder as you scroll TikTok before bed. Here's a fun fact. You start your day not with coffee, which wasn't around yet in medieval Europe, but perhaps with a hearty bowl of porridge, thick enough to stand a spoon or a rusty old knife. A daily staple that assuredly didn't rival your favorite barista's seasonal latte, but got the job done. Kind of like how you might settle for instant noodles while watching cooking shows. The gentle buzz of village life begins to stir around you. You hear the cluck of chickens and the lowing of cows, critters that become so much a part of your day, they're practically the medieval version of background noise on a podcast. While you shuffle along the dirt path to the village center, the sweet, slightly discordant sound of a lute softly plucks through the air. A medieval equivalent of someone plucking at a guitar in a dimly lit coffeehouse. People greet each other with nods, exchanging simple pleasantries that carry the weight of "how's the weather," but we really mean it chit-chat, a tradition that transcends time. The market stalls are already teeming with merchants offering everything from fresh herbs to hand-forged trinkets. It's easy to get lost in the bustle, swaying along like you would in a crowded Saturday market. Now let's circle back to something peculiar about all these folks meandering through their life-driven purpose. Medieval times were pretty chill in their own busy way, but they also had their fair share of quirkiness. Take this. There were professional jesters, living embodiments of memes, because really, everyone needs a good chuckle. Historians still argue whether these jesters had any actual mental health benefits tied to their antics, or if they simply served as escape routes from the day's grind. Most days are filled with ordinary tasks that feel as predictable as the modern routine of setting 5 alarms and ignoring them all. Yet, there's undeniable comfort in these repetitions, a meditative rhythm of life that resonates even today. The medieval villagers wore their schedules like a well-loved cloak, often discovering joy in simplicity. As you wander back towards home, you catch a glimpse of the village herbalist tending their little garden patch. There's something innately fascinating about these early apothecaries, mixing fragrant concoctions that range from comforting to outright bewildering. It's like trying every viral hack you see on social media, hoping one of them magically fixes your day. The medieval psyche, without the noise of gadgets and constant notifications, weathers its silent struggles with nature and spirituality. It's a reminder that sometimes clarity comes not from the quantity of your interactions, but the quality, much like choosing real conversations over scrolling through reels. The air feels softer as the sun dips lower, leaving you to ponder this ancient world. A tangled mix of fact and mystery, spinning slowly with the earth, much like your favorite bedtime stories. And as the last tinge of daylight melts into twilight, you find yourself gently easing back into the comforts of your medieval abode, ready to rack up anecdotes of a life unburdened by digital chaos. So, here's to embracing both the bizarre and the beautiful bits of history. Because honestly, in every century, we've all just been trying to make it through the day, one sleepy step at a time. The world outside dims into a cozy twilight as you reconnect with your surroundings, still lingering in that gentle medieval morning haze. You stretch a bit, feeling the weight of a long day, much like you might after binge-watching one too many episodes of a series you didn't mean to start but couldn't quite stop. The village life has its own charm, its simplicity, like a comforting soup that warms your insides, even when the world seems a little off-kilter. As night falls, you reflect on the oddness of daily life in medieval times. Imagine waking up every day, not to the shrill beeping of an alarm, but to the sound of roosters heralding dawn like overexcited morning people. You'd probably want to hit snooze on that too if you could. The homes are modest, but not without their quirks. Think of mismatched pajamas. Each stone and timber forms its own bizarre harmony despite the centuries of wear. The floors might be a little uneven, a hazard if you're not watching your step carefully, much like scrolling through social media during a boring meeting. Yet, somehow, this all works to create a feeling of home, with the hearth glinting invitingly, illuminating the stories etched into every crack and crevice. Speaking of stories, how about the ones we're living through now? Back then, it was less about broadcasting your day-to-day existence and more about finding meaning in events that could make any historian's eyebrows raise. Picture this: a medieval fair, a swirling cacophony of colorful tents and the mingled scents of roasted meat and sweetmeat. The air, alive with bard songs and laughter, offers a merriness we still seek in today's gatherings. Say, the way we meet friends over a cup of tea, phones down, hearts open, and minds ready to exchange tales. People were resourceful, to put it lightly. Evidence suggests that humor was a staple, even when humor itself had to snuggle close to survive harsh winters. Funny enough, medieval villagers relied on laughter because genuinely, you wouldn't survive this era without a few good laughs. Whether it was a jest at the local tavern or a sparking tale by the fireside, people held on to those things with a stubborn grip, like clinging to a phone at 2% battery. Historians still debate the real impact of these communal gatherings. Were they a truly effective balm for the mind and spirit? Or more like a momentary respite, much like browsing cute animal memes during a lunch break? It's hard to settle on one answer, as evidence is as hazy and shimmering as morning mist on a chilly, winding path. In some ways, life was gloriously unfiltered, No IG stories or snap streaks to curate. The chapter of daylight was about honest, tangible connections, talking around glowing fires, gazing across fields during harvests, or resting at the feet of the town storyteller, who spun yarns more intriguing than any podcast. Still, it's kind of charming, isn't it? 15 minutes of fame were less about ticking clocks and more on the legacies left behind in whispered tales and songs passed down through generations. Finding light in darkness wasn't always about candles flickering against stone walls, but about ensuring the hearth's fire was shared among hearts, equally warm and bright. And so, the evening winds down, leading you back into that familiar, heavy armored embrace of sleep. As your modern life takes a temporary pause and you snuggle into your cozy bedtime enclave, reflect on how history might just be a gentle reminder that we all share these soft, sleepy links. An intimacy with the past that feels like the quiet hug of an old stained hoodie, bringing comfort amidst a whirlwind of complexity. So let's hold on to these meandering thoughts and settle into the night, feeling the connection to those who walked before us. Sleep will catch up like a cat finding a perfect nook to curl into. This gentle closure brings us full circle, ready to wander again when dawn breaks anew. Now, as the soft tendrils of dawn start to yawn across the medieval landscape, you feel the soothing rhythm of another day beginning to unfurl, like unrolling a cozy, well-worn rug. The oddness we explored leisurely loops back to the forefront. Here's a twist. Let's chat about relationships in medieval times, especially the ones that were more complicated than deciding what to watch on a streaming service with too many options, but somehow still nothing you want to watch. Romantic entanglements back then had layers upon layers of intrigue, akin to finally managing that perfect puzzle piece, fit after an hour of searching. People met at inns, markets, or through well-laid plans between families, cementing alliances and building future foundations. But, okay, here's the wild part. To express interest, some used tokens like gloves or scarves, essentially medieval emojis extending messages silently but unmistakably. It was like sending that perfectly timed meme to get your point across without uttering a word. Now, while society had norms, rules were made to be, if not broken, at least bent in creative directions. Superstition and ritual waltzed through daily life, and so it did in love. Late spring festivals had couples jumping over bonfires hand in hand, a leap into both love and luck. An allegory for trust that feels somewhat medievally accurate even now. Seriously, can you imagine pulling an equivalent of that with a dance on Instagram Live? Historians still argue whether these symbolic gestures truly benefited mental cohesion in relationships, or if they were simply societal pressure wrapped in a romantic narrative, much like posting about relationships to make sure everyone knows everything is absolutely peachy, even when you're not entirely sure. The village's rhythm returns as you envision marketplaces abuzz like a beehive reaching its busiest hour. The clinking of coin and the buzz of negotiation remove any doubt. Shopping has always been an adventure in haggling for the best, or at least the most interesting item. Like scanning through countless reviews for kitchen gadgets you didn't know you needed until now. And while families were central, emotions within those homes weren't always the open book drama we see today. Expressing feelings took on an artful form. Letters sealed with wax carried confessions and hopes across kingdoms, ensuring an aspect of secrecy as text streams might do now when words are shared in the quiet privacy of a midnight confession over a messaging app. The household's flickering candlelight served as both a literal and symbolic hearth, a place for gathering, sharing, pouting, perhaps, but ultimately resolving with warmth. Much like that feeling when movie night binds family and friends on one couch under a fuzzy throw as popcorn pops somewhere in the background. All this might sound idyllic, but let's be honest. Medieval life was a rough tapestry of both joy and challenges. Even as laughter spread like fire across gatherings, the somber march of duties never waned. Happiness blended with obligation, merriment in moderation, joy in the gloom, scavenging for moments of light beneath a tapestry shadowed by the weight of responsibility, like so many unopened emails. But that's the point of stories like this, isn't it? To find rest in the complexities, the connection in the separation. Let's linger for a while longer as the canvas of the day colors in with scenes of olden times played back in the soft hum of life's quiet symphony. Let's embrace all of this hysterical history as it slowly drifts back into silence, folding us back into our own slumbered dreams, knowing that everything, eastward sun, twilight reflection, hushed embrace, forever loops just as gently in our hearts. You find yourself once again on that rustic path, with the earthy aroma of the medieval village filling your senses. The day begins to weave itself back into focus, as if emerging from a dream, where both past and present add whimsical details to your tale. So, let's wander into the realm of how people in medieval times dealt with stress and anxiety. Imagine facing a world where the pressure wasn't about meeting deadlines or figuring out what to tweet, but could involve things as dramatic as invasions or failing crops. Quite the contrast to your plants wilting, despite a heartfelt pep talk and cautious overwatering. Without our modern coping mechanisms, or that soft whirl of an electric fan serenely cooling your room on a summer's night, they found solace in simpler vices. Tavern life thrived as a tapestry of song and ale, a communal refuge where grudges and grievances took respite behind foamy mugs. Picture a place where bards spun tales and songbirds offered a soothing drone, a medieval playlist to ease tensions into the oak-paneled walls. Here's an amusing cherry on top. There were these gatherings called Ale Connor meetings, official tastings performed by someone with the bizarre job of inspecting ale quality by sitting on a wooden stool draped with soaked cloth to test stickiness. If they didn't stick, the brew was good. It's like trying to figure out if your homemade brew is more TikTok challenge or gourmet worthy. Honestly, you wouldn't believe this quirky way of quality control. And while nights filled with song and spirit served as outlets, daylight held its own forms of relaxation. There's a peculiar pleasure in taking repetitive, monotonous tasks like weaving or carving, akin to watching satisfying sanding videos, transforming chaos into ordered peace. Nature itself played an imperative role in wellness, as people often turned to dark forests and gentle streams to recharge their spirits. Think of a hiking trail speaking volumes more than an unread self-help book, an evergreen silence echoing ancient wisdom. Historians still argue whether the very act of getting lost within the great outdoors had true therapeutic benefits, or if it was more of an escapist ideal. But let's not forget the mystics, those harbingers of herbal remedies and secretive incantations, conjuring palliative solutions that shrouded both mind and ailment in spirituality as intricate as solving a Rubik's Cube in complete darkness. Apothecaries offered curatives that now seem both quaint and arcane, remedies mixed with a hodgepodge of ingredients thieved from both lore and land, solutions that spoke to the heart as much as they promised to heal the mind. As the stars blink in the medieval canvas above, you realize it's a universe shared by all who've ever taken solace in it. Perhaps the most consistent therapy has always been joining your thoughts and worries under the watchful sky, tracing patterns that mirror your scattered musings, ignoring responsibilities for a moment, as has been done throughout time immemorial. At each turn, your journey through stress and darkened clouds reveals gaps of laughter, offering echoes of serenity and escape. A gentle pause, much needed then as now. As your mind curls back cozily, like a cat finding the sunniest patch of the room, you find a sense of home among the timeless rhythms. Now, as the stars sow the hushed promise of tomorrow onto the night, let the stillness embrace both absurdity and comfort, where each holds hands with the other. These echoes are woven into the weave of soft memories, a gentle reminder, a soothing whisper, that even in the most winding passages of history, we sought out the simple pleasures that cocoon us into peace and renewal. As we sink deeper into this medieval reverie, picture yourself gliding gently into a realm where medicine intertwines with mysticism. It's a curious concoction, really. Kind of like that kitchen experiment, gone either splendidly right or dreadfully wrong, but surely memorable. Back then, healing was a blend of the arcane and the tangible, as intricate and delicate as a spider's web glistening in the morning dew. You make your way through the village towards the healer's abode, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of dried herbs, an aroma as comforting as your favorite childhood book. This healer acts as both a compass and confidant in matters of hardship and health, navigating ailments that modern folk like us might Google frantically at 3 a.m. when we should be sleeping. Here's an interesting fact to amuse your senses. Leeches were thought to possess curative qualities for removing bad blood, the medieval equivalent of rebooting your system by turning it off and on again. It was an era of bloodletting and balms, yet with each ritual, there remained a dash of mystery. Much like the allure of horoscopes and fortune cookies today, the village healer, usually either respected or lightly feared, wore many hats, conversing freely with herbs and whispering secrets to the wind. Their tools could range from simple splints to potions that claimed everything and nothing. A medieval mystery box of remedies, a little lighter on the science, heavier on hopeful intention. There's a certain magic in how these remedies nestled themselves into the routines of daily life. Ponder a moment where an herbal infusion acted as the humble ancestor to our modern-day chamomile tea. Though back then, instructions may have included murmured incantations alongside the usual steeping guidelines. Of course, mysticism wasn't purely benevolent. Illnesses often found themselves explained away by superstitions that could tighten the tendrils of fear. People eyed comets and eclipses with suspicion, much like LEDs flickering in a tech-savvy world hinting at unknown dread. Historians still argue whether these mystical practices actually provided meaningful comfort, or if they served as charming distractions to keep anxieties at bay. Did belief empower these remedies, or was it more about faith in a tangible act, like carrying a rock for luck that you swear works, despite sane logic? While the image of medieval medicine might seem unappetizing with quirks galore, it offered a prism through which life refracted, coloring the world with a unique mix of folklore and practicality. Whether effective or simply grounding, these practices linked people with nature and, in some ways, with each other. As dusk becomes an intimate accompaniment to your thoughts, You can sense the comforting cycle of history weaving through. There's a gentle embrace of this age-old allure, wrapping itself around a realm where medicine and magic wove myths stronger than silk, embraced by a universe as longingly hopeful then as it is today. So let yourself settle into this dance between logic and lore, nuzzling into the cradle of a history that whispers promises under your breath, soothing as it ever was. You'll feel yourself drift once more, tucked into layers of velvety night, where dreams and winds keep their own counsel, spinning tales as lush as a carpet of stars spreading across the sky. As the night deepens, wrapping you like a cozy cloak, let's sway toward the world of knights, those insomnia-riddled, visor-raising men of steel who lived for quests and honor. Imagine for a moment dragging yourself from a hard cot and suiting up in armor as morning light cracks the horizon. It's quite like rolling out of bed, bleary-eyed, and making yourself presentable for a day of adulting. Only they did it with twice the weight and considerably fewer complaints. Being a knight wasn't just about swinging swords and riding into battle with an enviable steed. In fact, it was also an occupation riddled with duties, oaths, and chivalry, which, fun fact, originated as a code to regulate knightly conduct. It's like the original workplace wellness program, albeit with a bit more pageantry and risk of losing one's head. But here's where it gets amusingly relatable. Being a knight meant keeping watch during long, lonely vigils, staring at the stars while jotting mental notes, or perhaps just gazing longingly into the void until sleep or dawn took pity. Kind of like those nights when you're wide awake at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling, contemplating life and other mildly existential thoughts. Of course, societal pressures added to their mental load. Maintaining one's reputation was no small feat, akin to managing social media profiles, while ensuring that you don't accidentally land in a medieval version of a viral scandal. The expectations were staggering, requiring both strength and composure, further emphasized by an odd mix of romance and heroism spun from troubadour tales that could rival any Hollywood blockbuster. Even with the tales of valor, knights weren't all about swordplay and grandeur. They faced doubts and fears, hashing out a life punctuated by tourneys and melee brawls that provided bizarre aerial spectacles, a kind of medieval live-action TikTok with the added risk of missing limbs. Yet, historians argue whether the pressure from these knightly roles brewed more anxiety than glory. Did the narrative of nobility truly fortify mental resilience, or merely plaster the surface with a motivator badge, decorated in toggled pomp and pageantry? As you relax further into the fabric of this winding tale, ponder a world without the caress of digital distractions. The gentle chime of a lute serves as the medieval lullaby, filling evenings stretched languorously, the notes infused with tales from the field and fireside. Picture knights, these armored bearers of destiny, catching moments of rest, drifting gently in the embrace of song and story, much like how we allow narratives to serenade us into dream-riddled havens. Tucking into your quilted resting place, perhaps limbs entrapped amongst blankets rather than chainmail, let your thoughts shift from the clang of swords to the soothing echo of chisel striking stone. Imagine the arms clad in steel, replaced by a companionable feline napping over feet, your airborne canvas of medieval dreams reflected in the world around us. As the night carries you, call forth one last flicker of thought. How in every whisper of history, real or imagined, We've always sought the lightest path through the shadows, and perhaps in the movements of a knight's sword backlit by the moon, or in the gentle sway of medieval tales lost in time, we find the echoes of soft lullabies singing us into serene slumber until morning gently calls us back again. The night continues to weave its magic like a warm lullaby. And as you drift deeper into this medieval reverie, let's tiptoe into the lives of women during this era. Picture yourself in the simple confines of a medieval home. Rushes underfoot, the low hum of daily activity surrounding you like the gentle thrum of a distant thunderstorm. Women, often the true heart of the household, navigated an orchestra of responsibilities, walking the tightrope between tradition and necessity. You rise with the sun, much like setting multiple alarms in modern times, and grudgingly accepting that none lead to more sleep. Before you is a palette of tasks that require careful balancing, and though they likely included milking cows and churning butter, it wasn't too far removed from managing the tumbler of life you're used to today. No Wi-Fi needed, just pure, quiet diligence. The role of women was central, yet shadowed by societal constraint. Snapshots of medieval manuscripts unravel tales that pivot on unspoken influence, like the swirling kaleidoscope of diplomacy women wove, often through marriage alliances, strategic as any grandmaster's chessboard. In charming kingdom circles, courtly love spilled into conceptual art, ethereal musings that wove stories of romantic sacrifice on an exaggerated scale. Compare it to sending LOL in a text when you're not really laughing, an act of outward expression detached from inner truth. Astoundingly, amidst the embroidered tapestries and handwritten letters, you'll find pockets of quirk. Remember those hats resembling towering steeples? Well, aside from making impressive architectural statements, they supposedly served as symbolisms of virtue, or so some theories suggest. Historians still argue about their purpose, wondering whether they embodied more than fashion statements. They might just have been the medieval Pinterest passion project of their time. You find yourself sipping on a fragrant herbal concoction, maybe elderflower or mint, fashioned from a recipe passed through generations under the guise of tradition over a sturdy wooden table. This table bears more than simple ordinary fare. It's a living witness to the alchemy of a woman's world, nurturing, calculating, navigating. Somehow, it captures the essence of kitchen tables everywhere, where decisions big and small are deliberated over steaming mugs. In towns and villages, these women often whispered wisdom as healers, spun fabrics with tales, sowed seeds of sustenance, and fostered stories that grew stronger each time they were retold. In such whispers lived the unbroken thread of community, a unique power in the art of creation, whether in artfully turned phrases or quietly transformative lives. Yet the mystique surrounding women in medieval times wasn't all flaxen chords and lilting songs. Some found themselves in the crucible of adversity, handmaids and workers alongside those of notable import. In a grand theater they performed, their contributions nondescript, yet imprinted indelibly on the annals of time, like a cryptic poem waiting interpretation. So, as you allow these tales to sweep over you, a melody of reassurance cradled in the echo of whispered revolutions, grant them a truth, a validation, interwoven with history's largest brushstrokes, illustrating stories from silence and silence from stories. There's a softness here as your thoughts begin to slip into the arms of nostalgia, like petals on a breeze, unearthed memories folding time, leaving echoes lost in dreamscapes, yet deeply familiar. Let the gentle fluidity of night guide you, unlocking tales from olden worlds as we traverse the uncharted territories of sleep. Pausing on the threshold of forgotten gossamer lands, where dreams and stories unfurl like sails, ready to take you wherever you wish to go. As the stars hang above, drifting like distant travelers in the velvet night, let's continue our journey into the medieval mindscape with a stroll through the tricky terrain of emotions. Picture yourself perched on a lonely hill, framed by the shadowy silhouettes of ancient trees, contemplating life's simple intricacies. Kind of like when you dive into deep thoughts, late at night, while wrapped in that oversized hoodie. Expressions of emotion then were as much an artful craft as a frugal survival mechanism. Public outbursts were frowned upon, and yet, simmering under the stoic surfaces was a symphony of feelings, dense as a winter quilt, layered, complex, and hard to unravel. Society had its roles, but emotions? They didn't quite play by the rules. Imagine medieval folks grappling with daily intimacies, not with icebreakers or memes, but through nuanced gestures, borrowed words mingling with the soulful refrains of wandering minstrels. The symbiosis of spirit and setting offered a stage where sentiments danced an unscripted ballet, silently poignant, with the clink of goblets filling pauses between sighs. Take the quirk of courtly love. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill romance. It was love idealized to a highly stylized melodrama, one where knights and ladies exchanged chaste pledges amid poetic devotions. Kind of like sending someone a playlist of cryptic love songs. You know, for no particular reason, when deep down the playlist itself is a self-contained universe of unspoken longing. In families, where space was tight and emotions tighter, people turned naturally inwards. A quiet introspection bubbled beneath the everyday clatter, woven into the essence of wood-smoky hearths and sunlit fields whispering softly to the heart. Conversations were laden with hinted meanings, a stark contrast to today's barrage of emojis, but all the more profound for those who spoke and listened with care. Historians still argue whether these seemingly subdued presentations were supremely adept in resolving emotional complexity or simply curtained realities from the resolution we now crave in endless scrolling through articles and videos guiding us on how to feel better in 10 steps. Despite the constraints, people found creative outlets to air their inner musings. Art sprang forth as a remedy, a canvas for dreams, frustrations, and aspirations. Medieval sculpture and illuminated manuscripts speak in hushed tones of beauty, rising from intricately detailed margins, tales unfurling beyond written word. Then there's music, the unseen balm for many a restless soul. Medieval minstrels and troubadours serenaded audiences with notes that echoed through time, their acoustic narratives a testament to shared human experience. Just as we might seek solace in the lilt of a favorite track on a cold night, they found a tether through melodies, harmonies twining together disparate lives in symphonic unity. And so, as the smoke curls gently away from distant fires, you imagine the villagers finding meaning in starlit conversations and in the spaces where silence resonated louder than words. There's a peculiar comfort in knowing that beneath the weight of years, emotions form bonds that crisscross history, a symphony still playing when we open our hearts to listen. As you linger by this campfire, allow yourself to become part of this timeless tapestry, embraced by the soothing balm of history's warmest secrets that remind us of our most enduring truths. That expressing emotion, whether in whispers or songs, weaves connections that glow at the heart of humanity, Let this thought drift you gently into sleep's embrace, where the cadence of night rocks you, a lullaby as steadfast as the stars, revealing hidden paths beyond the realms of waking dreams. Curl into these moments of tranquility, with the essence of timeless narratives wrapped around like a comforting shroud designed to usher in the peace of night. As the comforting hues of night envelop the medieval landscape, it's time to wander into the realm of food and festivity, a delightful mix of flavors and traditions that set the stage for both plenty and penance. Imagine yourself in the heart of a bustling fair, where aromas of roasted meats and spiced ale dance in the air, intoxicating and inviting, reminiscent of how a good street festival feels right in the middle of summer. The medieval diet, much like today's food trends, ran the gamut from simple to extravagant. On a typical day, a meal might feature bread, robust and hearty, much like those loaf experiments you've tried, ending up with enough flour on you to resemble the medieval bakers. They were adept at turning grain into gold, feeding not just the body, but the soul, inviting camaraderie in shared breaking of bread. You stroll through the lively stalls, taking in the vivid tapestry of colors and sounds, a medieval mukbang of sorts, where produce from garden plots mixed with the rare luxury of spices brought from distant lands. These spices were worth their weight in gold, claimed by noble kitchens to impress at lavish feasts, a splurge akin to ordering truffle-infused everything on a modern menu. The quirky part? Let's dig into trenchers, those edible plates made from stale bread that soaked up juices and sauces like a culinary sponge. Ancestors to our modern bread bowls, somehow accidentally practical, reducing waste and dishwashing alike, being the cunning equivalent of a lazy cook's cleanup hack. Trenchers remind us of simplicity and ingenuity dining together. Festivals, a mainstay of medieval life, inspired gatherings woven with music, dance, and merriment, a somewhat grander nod to Taco Tuesdays as you share with neighbors and strangers alike. They broke the monotony of feudal life, stretching imagination across lively tableaux, where everyone found themselves part of the spectacle, free in games and gaiety, if only for a night under the stars. Historians still argue over the true impact of fasting periods interspersed between these festivals of indulgence. Were they genuine resets for body and spirit, or simply enforced sobriety amidst the revelry? Much like detox trends and intermittent fasting practices you see tossed about today, occasionally the church bell called for fasts and penance, and meals shrank to frugal portions. These periods of reflection, somewhat like digital detoxes, grounded medieval lives, allowing digressions into sanctity and contemplation, even if the menu didn't always delight the taste buds. Amid all this culinary tradition, it's comforting to know meals often form the backdrop of every day, a world where each scoop, sip, and bite told a tale. Here's where warmth cultivated, laughter seasoned, and strained eyes look beyond the horizon, a place to ponder as you spoon through dinner, maybe sharing stories or murmuring sunny reminiscence, just as they did. As dinner blends into the shadows of night, take this chance to rest, allowing the gastronomical journey to settle in as you sink into the gentle bosom of history's nurturing embrace. Food has always been more than sustenance. It's a narrative art ingrained deeply in the ritual of life, knitting culture and community with invisible threads of togetherness. So let your dreams take you through the banquet halls of yore, where laughter and clinking goblets cast their spell. leading you through a land that relishes the quiet feast of reflection long after the tables are cleared. As a gentle calm curdles the air, find solace in the simplicity of timeless nourishment and let it slowly smooth the edges of your dreams. The night wraps around you like a velvet cloak, whispering stories of ancient times where spirituality and mental health wove an intricate tapestry across the medieval landscape. Imagine walking through a stone-arched doorway, leading into the hushed sanctum of a grand cathedral. The coolness of the flagstones grounding you, much like the first sip of a calming tea after a bustling day. Spirituality in medieval times was the bedrock of daily existence, tying together the scattered threads of lives in a patchwork quilt bound by faith. Churches rose high above villages, both in stature and influence, their bells marking the rhythmic pulse of time, a timekeeper far more imposing than your phone's calendar notifications. Prayer became the heartbeat of the community, offering solace in whispered verses that floated upward like the tendrils of incense, hopeful and eternal. You can almost feel the quiet echo of chants in the air, a meditative soundtrack that mingled with the rustle of robes and a collective pause. Communion, both literal and metaphorical, gathered under the watchful gaze of stained glass saints. Villagers found community and connection, each prayer a step further from the turmoil of their everyday concerns, a selective mute on life's noise, similar to flicking on your noise, canceling headphones. Historians still puzzle over whether these religious rituals genuinely bolstered mental health or if they served more as a societal glue, holding communities tight amid the chaos and uncertainty of medieval life. Was the peace found there within the confines of faith, or simply a distraction from more immediate physical struggles like harsh winters and empty pantries? In contrast to the solemn tranquility of cathedral grandeur, pilgrimage offered a different spiritual outlet, a physical journey of repentance and hope. Picture a trail of devout travelers making their way towards sacred sites, an old-world pilgrimage that parallels modern-day retreats or long hikes with purpose. It was as much about the physical exertion as the spiritual aspiration, a way to perhaps purify the mind as they journeyed over hills and valleys as pilgrims in search of something larger than themselves, a quest mirrored in our soul-searching vacations and digital detox escapades. Back in the quietude of monastic cloisters, monks and nuns nurtured spirituality through routine prayer and service. It was a life of simplicity, an intentional surrender to silence, a contemplative approach not unlike the mindful practices found in yoga or meditation retreats today. Those stony sanctuaries echoed with the vows of those who lived by the rhythm of bells and the hum of daily devotion. Intertwined worlds split into clean lines along cloistered walkways, private yet community-driven, a quiet life, dense with purpose. You might be reminded of morning rituals, the comfort in repetitive daily care, the slow steeping of tea as an antidote to the rapid pace that seems to chase you. Spirituality meant finding inspiration in the mundane, allowing every ritual to resonate through their lives as a bridge between the ordinary and the divine, crafting a symphony of moments that sang back to them in peaceful clarity. So as you drift, allow the quiet beauty of these ancient practices to soothe you into gentle slumber, a tapestry of patience and peace, creating a soft cocoon over your senses. Let the whispers of faith and the echo of timeless chants melt into the night, ushering you into dreams where the divine and personal blend into tranquil harmony, a lullaby as old as the night and as tender as the touch of dawn's first light. As the night serenades you deeper into the realms of sleep, the woven threads of history guide us into a tale where prayers intermingle with potions, a curious dance of spirituality and early medicine that sought to soothe both body and soul. Imagine yourself stepping into an ancient stone apothecary, shelves lined with glass jars and bundles of dried plants, the air rich with the scent of herbs mingled with a hint of mystery. In medieval times, the line between science and superstition often blurred, creating a curious hybrid where remedies were as much about belief as they were about botanicals. Picture a world without the sterile countertops of a modern pharmacy, replaced instead with stone basins, mortar and pestle, and the soft murmur of chants woven into the mixing of salves, a place where spiritual and medicinal worlds met like old friends, swapping tales over a warm mug of mead. One fascinating nugget of this period was the concept of the doctrine of signatures, where it was believed that plants resembling certain body parts could heal those very organs. Take lungwort, for example. The plant's leaf patterns suggested lung tissue, thus used to treat respiratory ailments. It's the medieval version of, say, Googling best foods for brain health, and then eating a blueberry-rich diet, hoping for an IQ boost, albeit with a more mystical spin. Here's a little chuckle for you. The medieval alchemist, shrouded in mystery and cloaked in curiosity, explored ways to turn base metals into gold, their experiments sometimes producing explosive results. Alchemy, often seen as a predecessor to modern chemistry, was part science, part arcane art. Imagine the intrigue of their workshops, a place of whispered secrets and occasional singed eyebrows. The mad scientist trope of its age aiming for transformation, both physical and philosophical. Historians still debate whether the act of mixing such potions was more medicinal than psychological. After all, was it the potion that healed, or simply the belief in its magic? It's a question plucked from the annals of time, akin to wondering whether the placebo effect of today was foreshadowed by these ancient practices. Alongside herbal lore, prayers were a key component of healing. Invoking saints or divine intervention was as potent a prescription as anything found in a herbalist's cabinet. This was more than ritual. It was about instilling hope, a sentiment we might recognize in the soothing reassurances we seek when confiding in friends or reading motivational quotes adorned with pastel colors. And then there were the pilgrimages to shrines dedicated to healing saints, a spiritual venture that blended reverence with the hopeful pursuit of health. Sometimes travelers collected holy relics or waters purportedly imbued with curative properties. This notion of traveling for healing resonates even today, guiding our instincts to seek solace outside familiar confines. A retreat, a sanctuary, a space to rebalance our spirit. So as you find yourself tapering softly into sleep, let the gentle gauze of this history wrap around with the tender care of a thoughtfully brewed tea. Here lies a world where faith and nature entwined, providing a soothing balm that bridged reality with reverie, the mundane with the divine. Allow this ancient harmony to cradle you, easing the transition from the buzzing hum of the day into the quiet folds of night, where dreams await like promised lands, whispering with secrets yet to be unveiled. As you drift further into the cushiony embrace of the night, let's wander into the vibrant pulse of medieval festivals and fairs, where the mundane transformed into a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds, like a surprise fireworks show bursting across a still evening sky. Envision the excitement bubbling as villagers gathered for these ephemeral celebrations, eager to shake off their daily toil and dive headlong into revelry that could rival any modern-day music festival. The heart of these gatherings was community, a tapestry woven with new faces and familiar friends, where merchants hawked their wares with the same eager enthusiasm as a pop-up shop on a trendy street. Imagine stalls brimming with exotic spices, handcrafted trinkets, and stalls of colorful fabrics, each thread telling its story. It's much like scrolling through your favorite online marketplace, each click revealing treasures from distant lands. And oh, the sounds. Here's a whimsical tidbit. Medieval musicians, or minstrels, roamed these fairs, their music swirling around like the notes from a street performer coaxing passers-by into an impromptu dance. Lutes and flutes created a symphony that stitched together the joyful cacophony of laughter, bartering, and the low hum of contentment. It was an auditory journey, a sprawling mixtape of life's vibrancy, coaxing feet to move, spirits to soar, and hearts to open. The quirky side of these festivities often lay in the spectacles. Consider the jugglers and acrobats who performed feats more daring than clicking buy on an over-budgeted online cart. Or the jesters, lively embodiments of the medieval meme, their antics sparking laughter, the ultimate medicine for wearied souls. Even back then, everyone appreciated a good chuckle. Historians delight in debating the societal role these fairs played. Were they solely for entertainment, or did they serve as critical junctions for cultural exchange and social commentary? Like those sprawling conventions where ideas and innovations are shared under the guise of networking and fun, medieval fairs sponsored a vast potluck of interactions that likely left lingering thoughts and bright sparks in their wake. Our ancestors also found joy in tournaments within the tumult of celebration, where knights donned armor and displayed prowess, a spectacle of pageantry for the gathered crowd. It's akin to sports events today, where cheers met with victory or defeat, fostering unity amidst competition, each lance clash echoing through time like a moment suspended between reality and story. In many ways, these fairs were medieval escapes, temporary halcyons, where artisans and dreamers came together beneath the wide sky. The blend of food, music, and spectacle painted lives vibrant, leaving imprints deeper than any footprint on dusty earth. A dance of humanity that is as ancient as it is evergreen. Under the canopy of stars, you recognize this waltz as timeless. Let your thoughts meander leisurely across this vivid tapestry until they settle into the plush confines of your imagination's embrace. Here, amid the cheering throngs and festive lights, tales speak in soft tones, leading you gently towards slumber. So let yourself soften against the fabric of night. Dream of unending fairgrounds bathed in moonlight, a timeless tapestry unfurling at the edges of dreams. There, story and spectacle intertwine under the night's watchful eye, carrying whispered echoes of laughter and joy, spinning ever onward into the silent serenade of morning's gentle awakening. As the night snugly envelops you in its quietude, let's drift into a world where art, music, and emotion were woven into the very fabric of medieval life. A vivid backdrop where the imagination roamed free and unconfined. Imagine wandering into an art workshop, the air infused with the scent of fresh pigments, potent and vibrant, tickling the senses. It's akin to stepping into your local art studio, where creativity spills over in waves of color and light. In those days, art wasn't just a form of expression. it was a language all its own, translating the ineffable into a painted panorama. Artists were the storytellers of their age, crafting windows into realms where the divine and the earthly mingled. Their canvases, often walls and ceilings, were visions of faith and grandeur. Cathedrals vibrated with imagery that reached for the heavens, like the ultimate medieval mood board designed to inspire awe. Now, here's the charming part. The medieval craftsmen applied gold leaf to their masterpieces, an intricate process that required the patience of a saint, adding a sparkle as lively and inviting as the glint in a child's eye at the sight of first snow. These golden highlights served as a bridge, connecting sacred stories to everyday folk, a reminder that the extraordinary was just a shimmer away. Just as intriguing is the role of music in the everyday life, an art form that knew no boundaries, played in courts and courtyards alike. Melodies floated on the breeze, stitching moments together in a rich tapestry, where each note served as a thread in life's intricate weave. Imagine gatherings in candlelit halls, minstrels weaving tales with melody and rhyme, their voices mingling with the flickering shadows, a medieval playlist unspooling into the night. Historians often muse about the impact of these artistic and musical expressions. Did they serve as pure escapism from life's hardships? Or did they reflect a society's deepest desires and fears, much like the themes explored in the books and sitcoms that we binge-listen through the dark hours until the break of day? Walking through these melodic landscapes, art wasn't just confined to brushstrokes or notes. Consider illuminated manuscripts, pages not just inked, but illuminated, quite literally, with intricate, colorful illustrations that danced along the words like daydreams come to life. These weren't merely books. They were spectacles, a testament to humanity's yearning to intertwine beauty with the mundane, much like curating a perfect Instagram feed with storytelling poignancy. Within the secular world, dramatic performances ran a narrative chord through reality, drawing audiences into realms of kings and mythic quests. They stirred emotions as they unraveled tales of valor and folly, a precursor to the dramas we now experience as we become couch detectives, immersing ourselves in the tales unraveling before us. And so, as your mind continues its gentle wanderings, these tales of art and music provide a soothing lullaby, a soft cadence in time's enduring melody. They wrap you in their gentle embrace, coaxing you towards sleep with the promise of colors more vivid than any dream. Notes resonant with the laughter of generations and stories brushed with gold, waiting to cradle you as the night hums its gentle song. Let the creative spirit of the medieval muse beckon you toward rest, drifting through dreams painted in shades of antiquity, their echoes a soothing balm against the night chill. Feel yourself surrender to the world stitched lovingly from these ancient melodies and murals, luring you deeper into a tapestry spun by the quiet hand of time, safe, serene, and woven with the silken threads of sleep. As the gentle tapestry of night continues to weave its calming spell around you, let's turn our thoughts to the serene yet disciplined world of monastic life, a haven where peace and pressure existed side by side, much like the yin and yang of our own modern hustle. Imagine yourself stepping through an ancient cloister, the soft echo of footsteps on cool stone, inviting a sense of tranquility as profound as any whispered secret. Within these sacred walls, monks and nuns dedicated themselves to lives of contemplation and devotion, their days mapped meticulously by the tolling of bells, a rhythm as soothing and repetitive as ocean waves. The quiet hum of daily rituals filled the air like the comforting drone of a fan, lulling you to sleep, each task imbued with purpose. Work and prayer blended seamlessly, their harmony a gentle background melody that remained consistent amid the changing world outside. Monasteries were not just places of spiritual sanctuary. They were bustling hubs of activity. Scribes labored over manuscripts, artfully copying and illuminating texts with meticulous care. Think of them as the original content creators, producing works that would outlive their era by centuries. Libraries amassed scrolls and codices, storehouses of knowledge akin to the vast expanses of the internet, where we now seek answers late into the night. But here's where the quirky charm lies. Amidst this disciplined tranquility, monks became skilled brewers, crafting beer in huge vats and perfecting recipes that remain popular even today. This beer, sometimes dubbed liquid bread, sustained not only monks, but also travelers, offering a form of respite packed with both sustenance and, let's face it, morale. It's rather like finding joy in a perfectly brewed cup of coffee during a midday break. The small pleasures are greatest when most needed. The monastic life was, interestingly, both an escape from and a reflection of the world, a paradox of seeking retreat while remaining an integral part of the medieval landscape. These cloisters represented a retreat from worldly concerns, yet they often engaged deeply with the community, cultivating gardens, healing the sick, and teaching as practical contributions to life outside their walls. Historians still ponder whether these monasteries were truly the peaceful havens they aspired to be, or if the strict routines and vows created internal pressures akin to the deadlines or KPIs we set in our own daily lives. Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between, in the delicate balance of peace achieved through routine and the quiet strength found within order. As we drift along the cobblestone paths of these quiet enclaves, imagine the low murmur of chanting, harmonizing with the golden light filtering through stained glass, casting intricate patterns on ancient stone. These illuminated corridors echo with the wisdom and whispers of lives dedicated to a higher calling, a sanctuary that nurtured minds and spirits across centuries. As the monastic day softens into evening, allow yourself to be drawn into the thoughtful serenity of this ancient world. Let it soothe your soul with its promise of quietude and reflection, urging you gently toward a restful slumber. The monastic legacy is woven into the canvas of night's gentle embrace, bidding you to relax into the rhythm of calmness, where dreams are free to blossom as the night tucks you into its gentle swaddle. Feel the soft echo of their chants, and let them guide you into dreams as gentle as the murmur of an ancient hymn, bringing the promise of renewal and peace upon the horizon of a new day. Sleep deeply, your mind cradled by history's soft ebbing tide, as night watches over all with its vast, soothing gaze. As the night deepens and draws you into its quiet embrace, let's embark on one last gentle journey, a whispered goodnight in the milieu of medieval escapism, where dreams and reality twined like tendrils of smoke rising into the starlit sky. Picture yourself reclining by the flickering glow of a dying fire, where stories were spun like delicate threads of silk, weaving a fabric of whispered tales upon which dreams were born. In these moments, the medieval mind sought respite from the daily grind and the often harsh realities of life. Much like we might lose ourselves in the pages of a fantasy novel or the soothing cadence of a podcast, these tales offered solace and adventure. Storytelling was more than entertainment. It was a cherished ritual, passed down through generations like a well-loved recipe, tweaked and embellished along the way. Imagine sitting amidst a circle of friends and family, the room alive with dancing shadows, each face softly lit by the glow of the fire. Here, a troubadour or a village elder would begin spinning yarns of faraway lands and fantastical creatures. Giants and dragons roamed these mythical landscapes. Heroes embarked on quests of valor, and magic whispered to the courageous and the heartbroken alike. These stories were the medieval Netflix, full of cliffhangers and surprises, as riveting as a season finale you'd stay up late watching. There's a unique charm to these tales. They held a simplicity and a complexity, much like the facets of our own dreams. A peasant girl might transform into a knightess, not unlike the modern Cinderella trope, unraveling themes of empowerment and metamorphosis. These stories served as the mirrors of their epoch, reflecting desires, fears, and wisdoms that feel timeless in their humanity. Historians still debate the impact of these tales. Were they pure escapism, or a subtle way to impart societal norms and values? Did they empower listeners, much like your favorite motivational YouTube channel, uplifting and encouraging through narrative? Or did they veer toward the didactic, shaping minds subtly through archetype and allegory? These narratives found life not just by the fireside. They leapt onto the stage in traveling troupes, or within burgeoning pageants, theatrical snapshots that could stir the quietest of emotions into a spirited dance. Music accompanied these plays, a symphonic companion to the storytelling, threading notes that hummed with vibrancy, lifting spirits like a magic spell. And as the night settles deeper into your bones, feel the gentle echo of these centuries-old whispers nourish your imagination, like the soothing lilt of someone softly singing you to sleep. Allow them to drift between realities as the warm, comforting glow of your favorite candle flickers its last, casting you deeper into the cradle of history's lullaby. Tonight, we leave behind the rush and rumble of time's unending stream, resting in the embrace of medieval warmth spun from tales and songs, their echoes whispering all around. As you snuggle deeper under your blanket, think of the friendly faces around those ancient fires, sharing stories that held the promises of all the dreams imagined and still waiting to be dreamt. Let these last echoes of the past gentle you into slumber, a slow, serene melody winding into the tapestry of night, carrying you softly across the threshold of another day. With the stars as silent witnesses, let sleep embrace you like a favorite story retold, casting light and shadow in perfect harmony until you drift quietly into dreams. Rest well, for tomorrow we'll greet both the dawn and the stories it will weave anew.